please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so we're back for another episode of Hit or Miss, where I look at NHL teams' first round draft picks from 2005 through 2015 and determine if each pick is a hit or a miss. We are winding down the Atlantic Division and winding down this series. This is the second to last episode. We're going to be talking today about the Florida Panthers. Before I start, I just ask that you please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Really helps out a lot and is much appreciated. But let's get into it here. 2005 through 2015, Florida Panthers first round pick starting in 2005, where they selected 20th overall and took left wing Kendall McArdle. This one is definitely a miss, as he only ever played 42 games in the NHL, scoring 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points, and a -11 rating. Obviously did not last very long, barely saw NHL ice. Not what you're looking for with a first round pick, and this one is definitely a miss. 2006, they selected 10th overall, and with that pick, they took forward Michael Frolik. And I'm really on the fence with this one because Frolik offensively definitely has never produced at the level that a top 10 draft pick should. However, he's played 850 games in the league and has turned himself into a very, very good third-line player for much of his career. So maybe I'm just being nice here, but I'm going to say hit on Michael Frolik. I don't know if he is a great pick at 10 overall, but he's ended up having a very, very nice career. Again, 850 games, definitely could go over 1,000 in his career. 159 goals, 225 assists for 384 career points, and a +22 rating. He's been a really solid secondary scorer for many years in the league, so I'll give him a hit on that one. 2007, they selected 10th overall again in the first round, and this one is absolutely a miss, as they took defenseman Keaton Ellerbe. And Ellerbe only went on to play 212 games in the NHL, scoring 4 goals, 23 assists for 27 points, and a -13 rating. Obviously did not play very long at the NHL level, and that, for a top 10 draft pick is very, very bad. So it's a huge miss there with Ellerbe. Could have gotten someone a lot better. 2008, they didn't have a first-round pick, so we move on to 2009, where they selected 14th overall and took defenseman Dmitry Kulikov. Now, this one, to me, is a hit. Kulikov's been a pretty good, solid defenseman in the league for a long time. He's now with Winnipeg, no longer with Florida. He's played 677 games in the league, scoring 35 goals, 135 assists for 170 points and a -58 rating. He's been a regular in the NHL for a long time now, and for a mid-first round draft pick, he's turned out pretty good. 2010, they had 3 first-round picks in 2010. The first one coming 3rd overall, where they took defenseman Ekblad Branson. Now, at number 3, this one is a miss, and I love Ekblad Branson. I am a huge fan of Branson as a depth defenseman. When you're drafting 3rd overall in the draft, you are not looking for a depth defenseman. You are looking for a superstar. Ekblad Branson has not become a superstar or anything even close to that. He's a good, solid, physical bottom pair defenseman. He's played 518 games in the league, scoring 20 goals and 53 assists for 73 points and a -90 rating. Really not much offense to his game at all, just kind of a depth, tougher, physical D-man. That is a miss at number 3 overall. Now, if that was late in the first round, I'd probably say hit because he is an NHL defenseman, but at number 3, that's pretty brutal. At 19th overall, they took center Nick Bjugstad, and this one is certainly a hit, as Bjugstad, who's now with the Pittsburgh Penguins, has played 439 games in the NHL, scoring 97 goals, 110 assists for 207 career points and a -42 rating. He's a great middle-of-your-lineup center, really solid player, and for a mid-first round draft pick has turned out really good, and obviously still has a bright future ahead of him in the league as well. And finally, at 25th overall, they took center Quentin Howden. And this one is another miss, as Howden only ever played 97 games in the NHL, scoring 10 goals and 7 assists for 17 points and a -11 rating. Didn't even play 100 games at the highest level. not what you want from a first-round pick, and that one's a miss. 2011, they had the 3rd overall pick again in the first round, and with this one, they took Jonathan Hubert. And this one is obviously a massive hit, as Hubert is now the all-time leading point scorer in Florida Panthers history. He's one of their best players, a massive point producer for them, a great top-line forward. He's played 536 games in the NHL, all with Florida, scoring 148 goals, 289 assists for 437 career points and a -6 rating. And obviously, Hubert is a huge part of the team now and one of their absolute best players. The kid's a stud and definitely a huge hit with that pick. 2012, they selected 23rd overall, and with that pick, they took defenseman Michael Matheson. Well, this is another one I'm going to call a hit. This was a later first-round draft pick, and Matheson has been a NHL level player for the last few years. He's played 299 games in the league, scoring 33 goals, 58 assists for 91 points and a -30 rating. If this pick was early in the round, I probably would not be calling it a hit because he really is kind of more of a depth type defenseman. However, he's been a regular in the lineup for Florida the past few years. And is an NHL player and a solid NHL player. It's not like he's getting sent down and called back up and sent back down and called back up. He's a stable NHLer in an NHL lineup. So that one is a hit. 2013, they selected 2nd overall, where they took center Alexander Barkov. This one, another obvious hit here, as Barkov is probably the best player on the Florida Panthers right now. He's an absolute, one of the most underrated players in the league, an absolute star. 479 games played, 155 goals, 252 assists, 407 career points, and a +32 rating. I think when it's all said and done, Alexander Barkov is going to pass Jonathan Hubert, even though they're still on the team and playing together. I think Barkov is going to eventually pass Hubert for most points in Florida Panthers team history, and I think he's the best player on the team, certainly now in Florida. 2014, they selected 1st overall. They got the number 1 overall pick in 2014. And with that pick, they took defenseman Aaron Ekblad. Now, this is a difficult decision for me because Ekblad he's their best defenseman. He's their number 1 guy. He is their best defenseman, so that's good. He hasn't exactly produced the way you would expect a number 1 overall defenseman to, though. He hasn't really broken out into being that, elite Norris Trophy level superstar defenseman. However, if you go back and look at the first round of the 2014 draft, how many of those top 10 picks have actually worked out to be like top 10 worthy picks? Not very many of them. So I'm going to say hit on this one because they didn't really have a whole lot as far as choices go. Aaron Ekblad, actually, as far as the top 10 players that were picked, Aaron Ekblad actually turned out to be, one of the best ones. I would say Leon Draisaitl, looking back, probably should have been number 1 overall, but Ekblad was not a bad pick there. So I'm going to say hit. He's actually had one of the best careers out of any of the first 10 players drafted in 2014. So hit there. 458 games played, 71 goals, 141 assists, 212 points, and a +29 rating. I mean, he's a plus player. He's got over 200 career points. He's played almost 500 career games. He's a number 1 defenseman on the team. We're going to go hit there. And finally, 2015, they selected 11th overall and took left wing Lawson Krause. He's now in Arizona as they ended up trading him away. This is another one that it's early in his career. Krause is still young, but Krause over the past couple seasons has really started to develop at the NHL level and play a solid, power forward type role with the Arizona Coyotes. So I'm going to say hit on this one because I think he has a pretty bright future ahead of him. He hasn't produced a ton offensively yet, but again, he was only drafted 5 years ago. 230 games played, 32 goals, 31 assists for 63 points and a -21 rating. But it's really been over the past couple seasons that he's really expanded his role with the Coyotes. And I think he's going to continue to get better and produce more offensively. And I think he can become a year in and year out 20-goal, 40-point power forward type guy that can play second or third line, bring some physicality, and score some goals as well for teams. A lot like a Michael Furlan type player. So I'm going to say hit with Lawson Krause. So there we have it, guys. The Florida Panthers, they have drafted quite a bit over the last few years, or well, the years of this time frame. I guess it's not the last few years anymore, but they've actually hit with a lot of these picks. Obviously, we did have some misses in there, certainly, but they hit with quite a few of these picks, and that's one of the reasons I think that Florida should be better than they are. Florida should be a playoff team. They have Hubert, they have Barkov, they have Ekblad. They had Bugstad and traded him. They had Kulikov, traded him. Yeah, it's interesting. They're in a lot of ways kind of similar to Buffalo, but also very, I think, still better than Buffalo. But it's interesting because they have actually not drafted that badly. It's more about just like keeping the right players and then just finding a way to win with these players, because a lot of them are good players, but Florida is still struggling to be a playoff team. But with that, guys, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.